raising women's voices.
One story at a time.
Welcome to the She Said Project podcast.
So happy to have our friends joining us today on another episode of the She Said Project podcast. I'm your host, Jeanette Jerzyk, National Director of the She Said Project. And I'm going to say hello to my co-host, Carrie Rosso. Welcome back to the studio. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Good to see you, Jeanette.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Are you excited for all the things that She Said has to offer in 2026?
Well, I am, because I get to just sit over here and watch all the big things you're planning. So what do I not have to be excited about? You're doing all the heavy lifting, so many things coming.
For the live productions, yes. But what you get to do is hang out with me in the studio, and we get to visit with some of these incredible women who've already shared their stories, have already been through the whole She Said experience. I feel like today's episode is a little bittersweet. I am beyond excited to spend some time with our guest today, who was on the stage in our very own community of Champaign, Urbana, not too long ago. But the topic of today's story is a difficult one. And I've been giving some thought to trigger warnings, right? How much do we tell our audience ahead of time? For a long time, we really kind of kept them out of in the dark about what the topics were, what the stories were about. But more and more, we've kind of been addressing when it's a good time to share a difficult topic ahead of time. What are your thoughts?
Well, disclaimer, I'm the person that reads the first page of the book and the last page of the book, and then I read the rest of the book. So I really enjoy. I don't like surprises. I like to know ahead of time. So I'm sorry it never occurred to me before to think about adding those kinds of like, hey, heads up, this is going to be a tough topic. So I'm really glad that you thought of it. Again, you doing all the great things. I'm just over here for the fun. I'm like driving Miss Daisy. You get to do all the work, and I sit over here
Carrie,
enjoying everything.
You are most definitely a backseat driver, if ever there was one. So
That's true.
I will let you own that one.
That's true.
I'm going to give some credit, actually, to our guest today. And so we're just going to bring her into the conversation. Joining us in the studio, Lesa Brandt from Champaign, Urbana. That's what she said, 2025. Welcome, Lesa.
Hi, Lesa.
Hello. Thanks for having me. It's so good to see you gals.
So when Lesa and I got together to talk about what she was going to share, she pretty much knew right away. There's a pretty big moment in her life that was appropriate, and she was the one who actually brought up, we can't just drop a bomb. We have to warn the audience. And so I thought you did it beautifully. The way you spoke to the audience, it was more like you were telling a girlfriend, like, hey, friends, we're going to have a moment here. So if you need to check out, I get it. So how have you been this last year? Now that you've had your 15 minutes of fame, what has your friends and family been like since you took the stage?
Yeah, it's been a great year. It's hard to imagine that it's been a year. I feel like it was just yesterday, but it's been a whole year. So it's been wonderful. It was really heartwarming, just all the support and the people who, I don't want to say come out of the woodwork, because there were so many of my good, close friends and family members who were, of course, there to support me, but also people, neighbors, friends, acquaintances that, reached out and said, we loved hearing your story. We loved being there for you. We loved supporting you. And that just makes you feel good. I actually met another woman from town who had lost a set of triplets, had gone through a divorce, very eerily similar stories, and we both worked at the same place, and so we connected, and so it was really healing for both of us to kind of, as you know, it's a unique situation to be in, and so to find somebody who shares your story just sort of makes you feel, normalizes it a little bit. So that was probably one of the cooler things, that meeting someone right here after searching so hard for so many years to find somebody, she was here.
I would say, speaking about pregnancy loss, infant loss, never an easy topic, but your circumstances were particularly unique. I think you kind of hinted to us already that it wasn't just a singular pregnancy, it was triplets. And to find someone in our community that had a similar experience, that's crazy.
Yeah, at the time, I was one of 6 sets of triplets within the year. And I was the last one. And I remember my good friend who was a high-risk sonographer said, we just delivered them all, and here you came pregnant with another set, which, they love having triplets, but it's high risk. And, they had everybody else delivered healthy. And so, as much as they were happy to see me, they also were like, they just knew they had seen things and knew the road ahead. So yeah.
Well, I'm going to pull a Lesa Brandt and tell our friends who are listening that if the topic of pregnancy loss is difficult for you or may trigger something unhealthy, please hit pause right now or walk away, go get a drink. If you want to join us and listen to Lesa's story, it's powerful, it's inspiring. But if it's not for you, that's okay too.
Absolutely.
See, I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm also learning. Like, we've been doing this for a very long time, and we don't always realize that stories can trigger something in an audience member. And we want everyone to have a healthy, inspiring experience and not something painful.
And you know your own emotions. And so if today's not a good day to listen, then don't listen. But, you might tuck this podcast away in the back of your mind. And in a few weeks, you're having a really great day. And hey, actually, I need to listen to that story and I need to resonate with what that person has to say. So come back and listen then. It took me months to even get to the point where I could watch the first episode of This Is Us, because I knew there were triplets and there was a loss. And so thinking about that show, and I knew I would love the show. All my friends are watching it. And so finally I was off work one day. It was cold out. And I was like, I'm going to watch it. And I think it took me 3 hours to get through the first episode. And then I realized, you know what, I don't think this show's for me. But I'm so glad that everybody else enjoyed it. So just, you'll know the time's right.
And you found so much more to talk about than just the loss.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was how we framed it. We called it Lessons in Love and Loss, because there's so much more that's happened since. There's so much that you've learned about yourself and your now family. So let's be clear, that's not all we're going to talk about. We want to hear from Lesa all the things. Am I right?
I need all things Lesa.
I know. You're just like, you're basking in her glow. I can see it.
I am. And that's what I think makes your story so special, is that you are easy. You're just easy. You heard it here first, folks. But you're easy to listen to. You are like an immediate friend to all. So I think it really helps everybody to sort of accept that and hear it and be comfortable in hearing and talking about these things.
Yeah, I definitely don't shy away from any topic. And I think that's what's helped me a lot, is I have to talk about it. And there's other people out there who don't want to talk about it, and that's okay, but maybe they want to listen. And so, I'm just an open book.
All right. So before we do play your story from the performance of That's What She Said, tell us where you are today. So how many years has it been? What has your family structure, what does it look like now?
Yeah, so I lost my triplets in 2014. So, I mean, we're, going on year 12 here, which seems, again, like yesterday. I oftentimes imagine what my life would be like with 3 12-year-olds, and I can't quite imagine. But, yeah, so that's forever ago. I mentioned in my story I got divorced. It was a happy divorce. So I'm always a big advocate for if your marriage is going to end, it can end peacefully and in the best situation for your children. I'm very lucky and very blessed to have 2 living children that are 8 and 10, and we are busy doing all the things. I mentioned in my story my silver fox, Lance, and so we bought a house this summer, so married by mortgage, and maybe the other type of marriage will come at some point too. But we'll see. I try not to pester him too much about that.
Hey, Lance, if you're listening, I have to clarify, did you say
Married by mortgage?
I thought that's what you said. Have you ever heard of that?
No, but I was so hoping. I was hoping I saw you over writing that down. That is fantastic.
Yeah. So we just needed some more space, and so we moved down the street. We love our neighborhood, and so had a bigger house come up for sale down the street from us, and so now we're there. So it's great. We love it.
Well, I'm so happy to see that you're have your bright, shiny smile on, because that's what we love about Lesa Brandt so much. Now, life has its ups and downs, and you certainly experienced yours. And now it's time to share some of those with our viewers and our listeners, because that is what life is all about: the good, the bad, and the challenging. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll share Lisa's story. I know you're going to be so grateful you took some time to join us today and listen to Lesa Brandt share her story. But do remember, if the topic of infant loss or pregnancy loss is challenging for you, then take care of yourself, okay? But please enjoy Lisa's performance from That's What She Said, Champaign-Urbana 2025, Lessons in Love and Loss.
I knew motherhood would change me, but I didn't think that losing the chance to become a mother would change me so much. Hi, friends. Thanks for being here and taking the time to listen to each of the ladies up here. I have been in your seat, in the audience of That's What She Said, and I am always amazed at what these women have been through and just in awe of the ladies who have stood on this stage and shared such vulnerable stories. It's not always easy being in the audience and That's What She Said. Listening to stories that can be really hard to hear. I know from experience how important it is to talk about all the things that you're not supposed to talk about, so you can connect with others who've been there and just know that you're never alone. Tonight, I'm going to talk about my experience with infant loss. This may be incredibly triggering for some of you here. So if you need to step out, have an ugly cry, or just mentally take yourself somewhere else, I get it, and I have been there. You're so good, girlfriend. But my story isn't just about what I lost, it's about what I gained along the way. Growing up, I always wanted to be a mom. Little Mrs. Pineapple, as I called myself, had big goals and a life plan, and I was determined to achieve everything I set my mind to and more. And it was all going to happen exactly how I planned it. That's how I approached pretty much everything. Focused on the goal, let nothing stand in my way or slow me down, and get it done. You want me to get it done faster? Tell me I can't do it. You can imagine how this carried over into my young professional life. I expected everyone to be as determined and goal-driven as myself, and I didn't believe in excuses, not for me or anyone who happened to work with me or for me. 2 years into my infertility journey and about 89 ruined plans later, I realized that things weren't always going to go my way, but I wasn't going to give up on the end goal, a baby. It was the holidays, so I was dressed to the nines in my homemade Christmas bow dress, and I'd heard one too many people tell me, oh, just relax, you'll get pregnant. So I was indulging in my newest self-prescribed medication, 3 Olives cherry vodka, and it seemed to be working pretty great. That night, I was due for the final injection of my cycle, and when my friend, who gave me all the injections, also self-medicated on 3 Olives, was prepping the needle, I convinced her to give me just a little extra follistim to ensure that I would have big, juicy follicles ready to release an egg. On Christmas morning 2013, Santa brought me the brightest of all pink, "You're pregnant," on about 9 pregnancy tests. I was in shock. A few weeks later, at my first sonogram, we were told I was pregnant with triplets. We had won the literal infertility jackpot. I immediately connected with a few triplet moms who all assured me that the end of my pregnancy would include weeks of bed rest. So I wasted no time and went right to work. By the time I was 23 weeks pregnant, we had bought a van, completed the cutest elephant-themed nursery with 3 cribs, driven to Georgia to meet a triplet family, and brought their incredible discontinued triple stroller that I absolutely had to have, and so much more. My type A personality was thriving, and through all of this, I was feeling incredible. On April 24th, I came home from work feeling particularly exhausted and started having some mild cramps. The next morning, I called my OB, the amazing Dr. McGregor, and she suggested that I swing by the hospital just to make sure that everything was okay. Cue the hysterics, erratic driving, and picture my van screeching up to the front door at Carl at warp speed. By the time I got to labor and delivery, I'd calmed down, but Dr. McGregor was in the clinic that day. So I was checked out by the on-call doc, who I had never met. She was super young and gorgeous. I was the size of a house and super emotional, and I got real judgy. I had an important meeting at noon. I was absolutely not going to miss that. I was ready to get in and out of that hospital so I could get to work. The doctor came back into my room, and with a look on her face that I will never forget. She sat down next to me, held my hand, and told me, "You are fully dilated, and there's nothing we can do." I said, "Okay. Sounds like we better get some undilation medication going, because I've got a meeting to get to at work at noon." I did not get it at all. She explained to me that there is no magical reverse dilation medication and that I would not be leaving this hospital until I delivered my babies. That could be days, weeks, or even months. All right. So the coming weekend was supposed to be my baby shower. My sweet sister-in-law got to make those terrible phone calls, which resulted in a literal parade of floral deliveries. We got, no joke, over 40 flower arrangements, which, given the circumstances, brought us more joy and laughter than you can imagine. We set up camp in room 1010, which was right next to the OR, and followed our medical plan, which was to hope for time, so my babies would have even a chance to survive outside the womb. Every day and even every hour that I stayed pregnant was a huge win. I barely moved. I couldn't even shower, just the occasional wipe down and so much Purell. One afternoon, as I was using the bedside commode, I quickly realized that something was happening, so I was rushed to delivery. It was an incredibly bittersweet moment as my first two babies, Lottie and Blaze, were born. Alive and tiny, but just not ready for this world. We could see on the sonogram how baby C, who'd been scrunched up near my rib cage, took the opportunity to just stretch out and get comfortable in the womb. The next day, my cervix completely closed up on its own, and we were able to put a cerclage in. We spent 4 hopeful days shuffling floral arrangements around the room and listening to my mom update us on every single detail and the entire history of the Bold and the Beautiful. Eventually, my body went into labor again, and after a very stressful few hours and lots of tears, my baby Lola was born still. I laid in the bed completely devastated, with no babies. My body had failed me. I was so weak and in shock at what had happened. My mom and my mother-in-law practically carried me to the bathroom to take my first real shower in what felt like months. I sat on the bench, water pouring on my head, and just cried. I had no choice but to accept help, even to take a shower. I was so defeated. Every plan I had set into motion had completely failed. And for the first time in my life, I was completely vulnerable. I had control of what felt like nothing. But something shifted in that moment. I had lost all of my babies, but I had not lost everything. It wasn't over. I had my uterus and all of my girl parts, which meant I could get pregnant again. I needed to focus on that and do everything in my power to go about things differently. I had to ask for help and accept that help when it was offered. I couldn't be that I can do it myself, my way or the highway, super driven and focused, but very lovely, Lesa than I had always been. The Lesa before this tragic loss would have regrouped immediately, rewrote the plan with dates and color coding, made infertility appointments, gone back to work too soon, pretended like nothing had happened, all while hiding my emotions. Post-loss Lesa had to figure out how to survive one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time. I wasn't going to let this loss take any more from me or lead me down a road that I didn't want to be on. I knew that my babies wouldn't want that for me. As we left the hospital, I was pushed through the lobby in a wheelchair with no shoes on and wearing pants against my will, followed by 3 carts full of flower arrangements. It was quite the spectacle. Not caring a thing about what anyone thought, I announced loudly, "I still have a uterus!" Because in that moment, leaving the hospital with no babies, my intact uterus was the only thing that I could find to be positive for. The weeks after my loss were filled with lots of really hard moments, like when I called the breastfeeding clinic to figure out what to do when my milk came in, times 3, and I heard nothing but screaming babies in the background. Or when I had to go back to the hospital because of a high fever, and the person pushing my wheelchair to maternal fetal medicine asked, "How are your babies doing?" Or when my mom, my mother-in-law, and I decided to get tattoos in memory of the triplets. As I explained my idea for 3 cute tiny elephants to the tattoo artist, he said, "That's stupid." I realized I could have let it all get to me and bring me down even more. I could have gotten really angry, and that would have been justified because my babies died. But what I realized were the comments and actions from innocent people who were genuinely trying to help were the worst. There is no manual on what to do when a baby dies. Even if there was a manual on what to do when a baby dies, it would be different for every single person, and quite honestly, different for the same person depending on the day. One of my best friends said to me, "You can be bitter or you can be better. It's your choice." Of course, I'd heard this saying before, but it took on a whole new meaning and became my mantra as I navigated life after loss. Like when I would get phone calls from every single maternity store that I'd ever shopped at, and there were several, letting me know that they were having a sale. Or when the person at the crematory told me that he was going to give me a deal and only charge me for 1 baby. I had to make a choice. I could bite this innocent person's head off and be really awful to them just for doing their job and trying to help. Or I could choose compassion. I found myself having more compassion in all situations. And what I realized was just as much as these innocent people had no clue what I was going through or how I was feeling, the same applied for everyone else in the world. I had no clue what they might be dealing with. Like when a colleague would call in sick to work, I used to get so annoyed because we had work to do. But today, I'm empathetic to the situation because that person could be dealing with something and need some time for whatever reason that I don't know a thing about. I certainly avoid asking the dreaded question, "How are you?" Because I know all too well the feeling of your legs turning to jello when asked that at the wrong time. How am I? My baby's died. There is a strong chance it is taking everything I have just to breathe and not have a meltdown. But I'm going to tell you that I'm good because that's what I'm supposed to say. Now, anybody who's experienced my driving knows that it has a lot to be desired. However, after my loss, I find myself to be much more patient on the road. When someone starts riding my tail, instead of brake checking them, I assume that they are having a medical emergency and trying to get to the hospital. Just like I was that morning, and I politely get out of their way. It's not always easy to choose to be kind and empathetic and compassionate. For years, I'd see pregnant women and babies out in public, and I would just scowl. Now, luckily, triplet sightings are incredibly rare, but you cannot even imagine how many things come in threes or involve triplets. When I think back over the years, it was on my hardest days that my heart found the most healing. And over time, that healing has evolved into happiness and gratitude. I am so lucky to share today that I have two amazing living children and balanced co-parenting with their dad. Yeah, we divorced, but losing the triplets did bring us closer together for a little bit. Now, my divorce story is pretty good. You're gonna need some cocktails, so see me at the after party. My heart is so full today, and I know without a doubt that I am a better person and a better mom because of my loss. And that incredibly handsome silver fox in the audience, hands off, ladies, he's mine. Soon after I physically recovered, I reached out to Carl Philanthropy because I desperately wanted a bench to honor my babies. They were not going to a cemetery because babies don't belong there. As it turned out, Carl was in the process of building an infant memorial garden with 2 benches. I raised the funds and was able to celebrate Lottie, Blaze, and Lola's first birthday sitting on our bench just days before I delivered my sweet Hudson. 2 years later, that young, gorgeous, on-call doctor who gave me the worst news of my life delivered my last baby via scheduled C-section. As I was laying on the delivery table, I told her that I was naming my baby after her. And within minutes, my precious Cooper girl came into the world. I often think of the families who sit on our bench and visit the garden. I'll never meet them, and I'll never know what they're going through. But I can hope that in their saddest moments, they can find something to be grateful and positive for, like a uterus.
Oh my goodness, Lesa. There's so much to unpack after watching your story again. It's been a while, but you and I worked very closely on, being very intentional about what to share and how you shared it. But I keep going back to that image in my mind of you in the hospital room with 40 floral bouquets just surrounding you. And I mean, it's funny, but sad, but funny, but I mean, obviously you were so loved and people wanted to know that they were thinking of you. But yeah, just carts and carts and carts of flowers following you behind the wheelchair on your way out of the hospital.
Yeah, the weekend that I went to the hospital was actually supposed to be my baby shower.
Ugh.
And so my sister-in-law at the time had the unfortunate job of having to call everybody that we had invited, and we were just doing one big shower and say, sorry, we've got to cancel the shower, and here's why. And so I think people just want to help, and they want to, let you know that you're loved. And so here came the flowers. And it did, anytime somebody was on the elevator, there were just more flowers coming, and we ran out of table space, and they brought carts in, and then, my mom and mother-in-law would just go through and sort of rearrange, and, we were there for quite a while, and
Start consolidating flowers into vases.
Some would get a little sad looking, and so we'd move those out and rearrange, and it was fun.
I love that that visual, and then I think that it really sums you up the part thinking of when you're in this really horrible situation and then yelling out, I still have my uterus, like hanging on to that positivity. Like there's one thing if like you got to find what it is, and if it's that you have your uterus, which turned out to be a very good thing because
you can't have a baby without a uterus.
and then you
did.
Yeah, and then I always say infertility is like making a good cocktail. You just have to get the right ingredients, shake it up just right, time everything out. And so we knew what worked. We'd figured it out. It'd taken years to get pregnant, but then once I got pregnant, it stuck. And so, once my body had time to heal, it was like, okay, the goal is a baby. And yes, we're still mourning and we're still grieving, but we're going to move forward and stay positive and focus on the end goal, which is a baby. And so had to do things a little bit differently because multiples were off the table moving forward. And so my doctor was really great and just made sure that we had the right cocktail ingredients and
several shots of cherry vodka, right?
Yes, that was
Definitely part of the recipe.
that was one thing that everybody said, like, oh, just relax or just, have a couple drinks. And I'm like, trust me, if relaxing was was going to make me pregnant, trust me, I would do that. But it kind of got to the point, it was the holidays. And I was like, you know what, let's go to this Christmas party in my bow dress and have some drinks. And that's when it worked. So.
I've seen Lesa in this bow dress. It is a spectacle. She is the holiday queen. It's true.
Well,
It's still around.
the show dress was just fabulous.
Thank you. I love to sparkle.
Well, you do sparkle. And so afterward, all of your sparkle, but did you get, I would assume, a lot of great reach outs of people?
Oh, yeah. It was awesome. I mean, I knew my good friends would be there, my family, but there were just so many people who I had met over the years and, considered friends, but then they're there to support me. It was just so heartwarming. And then everybody posting on social media was just also just next level awesome. The whole back quadrant of the theater was, my people. And so it was just really, really, I mean, that you have people who love you, but then to see them all there in one place for nothing else than to support you was just really kind of just takes your breath away.
And your cast. Let's talk about your
Yes.
cast for a minute.
Oh my
What a
gosh.
fabulous crew.
Yeah, they're so great. I mean, everything. I have a new hairdresser now. Thank you, Miranda. I have a new therapist now. Thank you, Gina. I have, just like all the things. Just such a great group of people that I can call at any point in time. Our group chat is still pretty active. We get together for drinks. My kids, when we listen to 94.5, they're like, "That's your friend Callie," and I'm like, "Heck yes, it is."
Callie on the radio. We all got a new grandma in Iris.
Yeah.
Markham. Oh, yeah.
It really
Still
was.
cooking.
It's sort of the template that we hope to get when we put casts together. When you look at that cast, so like the diversity in age, the diversity in stories, and women
Yeah.
in age, all of it, it really was just sort of the perfect storm of cast. And then watching how you all interacted with each other during the lead up and then the night of the show, what a fun green room you guys had.
Yeah, they're just, every single one of them is just sweet and kind and lovely. And yeah, I would consider them my sister.
So, how old are your kids now?
8 and 10.
And how has life been with them under your roof?
So good. I often say I'm not the type of mother that I thought I was going to be. I allude to that in my story, that it's changed me in so many ways. And, I was definitely after my loss, especially with my son, Hudson, who came first, very, I guess, wound tight is the best way to say it. And really just with the help of my therapist, worked through a lot of those situations ahead of time. Like I remember going to a family wedding for the first time with him as a baby and knowing people are going to want to hold this baby, but I don't think I can let anybody hold my baby. And so just talking through like, okay, if you want somebody to hold the baby, then let them hold the baby. But if you don't, that's fine. And I actually wore him in one of those like wrappy things. So that was kind of my excuse. Well, he's in the thing, he's cozy. But then by the end of the night, like I remember passing him across the table to one of my cousins. So it's like, okay, this is fine. So, just anticipating all the situations and then just handling it however it feels right. And however it feels right is oftentimes not what I imagined it would be. Just everything from just the planning. I feel like I'm a lot more go with the flow, but my kids also just keep us all on our toes, and you just never know what they're gonna do, and they're sweet, and I'm so happy with them.
Go ahead.
Well, so you are more go with the flow.
Oh yes,
Than you thought, really?
absolutely.
I thought I would be go with the flow, cool mom, and I wound up being not so go with the flowy.
Yeah, to the point where I almost think I need to, Lance has been really great for us as a family because when I give in, he kind of holds me accountable and says, well, remember, you said you didn't want to do that. So it's been a nice.
And you're able to
yes.
accept that.
Like, oh, yeah, you're right. I did say I want to do that because if we stay up past bedtime, then our morning is going to be terrible. And even though we're having a great time, playing Monopoly right now and eating cookies at, 8:00 at night, it is bedtime. And
so
we
you
should
think
stick to
he's
that.
the disciplinarian more than you?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yes. But for the better. I mean, because if I were giving in all the time and letting these sweet children work me over, I mean, then their behavior just was not great.
It's good to have balance.
We need structure. We need boundaries in our house. And so we have that. But a good, healthy mix of me just chilling out a little bit. But also,
I'm picturing your house with color-coded spreadsheets on the
Right?
walls
Yeah.
and chore charts and all the things.
Those are all good
no
things
excuses.
for the record.
I was going to say, Carrie's an educator, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming you raised your children like you were teaching a classroom.
I think I'm more fun in the classroom. I was pretty regimented, and I look back now
She's
and I
nice
think,
to other people's kids.
why? But I needed a little go with the flow. But I'm so surprised by you. I would have expected spreadsheet.
I mean, we
parenting.
have the spreadsheets. We have the skylight calendar with the everything laid out. But also, if we're having fun, then yeah, let's throw another batch of cookies in. Let's stay up an hour late and play games. Yeah.
I love that.
Surprises.
See, Lisa, you have surprises up your sleeve, my friend. I did not see that coming. That is fantastic. So your kids, they aren't old. Have they seen this performance yet?
Yes.
They
So
did.
we talk very openly about this in our house. And that was something with the help of the therapist said, it's okay, and you handle it how it works in your family. And so I just chose to talk openly about it. And we had a really great book called Someone Came Before You that just talks about that there was a baby that came before you. There are no triplets came before you, but they understand there were triplets. And so it surprises me and takes my breath away. Oftentimes, first day of school, they will go to school and tell us about your family to the teacher in the school. And without hesitation, they will talk about the triplets at school and say, I have, 2 sisters and a brother, but they're in heaven. And so it's just really makes me proud that they, embrace what I embrace. And that's just, we can talk about it. You don't have to, stay quiet. It might make some people uncomfortable, and that's okay, just to be respectful. If someone doesn't want to talk about it with you, that's all right. They might have a reason why they don't want to have that conversation. And so, so they know their baby blankets that they used were gifts that were the triplets, baby blankets. Lance was actually folding laundry the other day, and he goes, this blanket says Lola. And I was like, right. And he was like, oh, kind of made him take a step back. And so it's just always been part of our life. We have their bench that we go visit quite often. And it's just a piece of us. I keep their picture on my nightstand with their little ashes there. And yeah.
Let's talk about that bench for a moment. So you raised money to build a memorial bench. And so the park is part of the hospital? Explain.
Yes. So when thinking about how to memorialize them, I was like, my babies are absolutely not going to a cemetery. Babies don't belong there. And for me, that just was not a choice that I wanted to make. And so the only place that my babies knew or saw or took a breath in was Carl Hospital. And so I knew from my grandpa having a bench at the golf course that I could have a bench somewhere. And so, not afraid to ask, I called up Carl Philanthropy and said, hey, I'd love to have a bench to honor my triplets. Is that something that you could help me with? And they said, it's funny that you called because we are in the early stages of creating an infant memorial garden right here at Carl. And we'd love to have you be a part of that. So, of course, just tell me what I need to do. And so I didn't have the means to write a check myself. And so I'm a professional fundraiser. So that was easy, second nature to put it out there to my friends and family and just say, hey, we're going to do this bench and I need to raise X amount of dollars. And would you want to help? And again, blown away by the generosity and kindness of family and friends and complete strangers who helped me fundraise and get to the goal of raising my bench. And then Carl pulled out all the stops to make sure that that bench was in place by their first birthday. And it was no, easy task, but they got it done, and I'm so grateful. And then just flash forward a year, I ended up going and working at Carl Philanthropy
Because of that experience?
Because of that position had opened up, and because I had been involved with the bench, and it just sort of one of those situations where the planets aligned, and I just knew that I needed to go and work there. And so it was great, and I got to be part of the gift. There were 2 benches in this garden, and so I got to, always said I wanted to meet the family who dedicated the second bench, and so I got to be a part of that and meet the family, and it was just kind of a full circle moment that was really special.
I cannot imagine a better way to honor and pay tribute to your babies. Mm-hmm. And it's something that's there for the community to enjoy forever. Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to learn a little bit more about Lesa Brandt. We are getting to learn so much more about Lesa Brandt and her experiences. I wanted to take a moment and talk about what you do professionally then and now, because part of your job is empowering women in our community. So why don't you share with our listeners what you do?
Sure. So I work at Parkland College now in the foundation, and so raising money for scholarships, programs, all the great things at Parkland. Everybody loves Parkland. It's hard to find somebody who hasn't taken a class or been there for whatever reason, and it's just a gem in our community, and I'm so happy to be a part of it, and so happy to partner with the She Said Project last year when I was on the stage. It was the Parkland Trifecta.
She took my hints. She took my cue. I got that. She followed up.
Okay, picking up what you're putting down. Yeah.
But yeah, Jeanette called me and said, hey, we would love to have you be on the cast, and also we're doing the show at Parkland, and we would love for the Parkland Women of Impact event that I oversee to be the charity partner. And so it was...
So we wrote them a check after the show last year. For those who are listening, every That's What She Said show partners with a local nonprofit that receive a percentage of the ticket sales to honor the work they do in the community. And it was a perfect match. Parkland College, the foundation, the Women of Impact program, and I got to attend the event in June where we vote on the scholarship recipients, and we helped fund over 1.5 scholarships. So because of our donation, historically, they had been giving out about 10 a year. And I'm just going to, because I was sitting there, and I think you gave out 11 that year because you could.
Yes.
And so we got to participate in the vote. It was so magical to watch women get empowered in real time and to hear their stories and, and their acceptance speeches. It was amazing. So not only are we doing it again, and I know we try to keep our podcast evergreen, but we've got a show coming up, and we decided to partner with them one more time because we had an offer we could not refuse. One of our incredible sponsors decided to offer a match so that we can double our contribution to the scholarship fund.
Here's what. So I was at the event when all of those things were getting handed out, and I looked around the room, and so I personally have taken classes at Parkland. I looked around the room at all these women who are movers and shakers in our community who had Parkland connections, and I thought, look at the flip side of what this place has a role in creating these people that go out and give back to their community. I just thought it was so telling to see who was there, who had benefited from, and who was there giving back. It's a special place. I mean, just look at her.
Well, and I love seeing the women at the Women of Impact event, reading through the scholarship. We let them read a little bit of the scholarship essays just to get a feel for the gals they're voting on, and they're like, this is me. I was, I got divorced and I was going back to college, or I did a restart in my career, or whatever the case was. So it's just really, it's a great program, and we're lucky to have it here, and very lucky to have your support.
I've learned so much about the role of community colleges just in the last few years because of our partnership here, and also in Bloomington Normal. We're at the Heartland Community College, but it offers so much more than I realized. So I encourage anyone to go out and learn more about their local community college, but it is not just for that first degree, that first associate's degree. It's got community education, community programming. There's so many ways to get involved. And it's such an honor to be able to support the work that you do. And now you're part of the She Said family, right?
Of
so we
course.
get to have you come back and visit as often as possible. And we're going to be on the Parkland stage one more time. We're going to do it again with a brand new cast of ladies coming up very soon.
It's going to be so great.
Now you get to be in the back quadrant and whooping it up for somebody.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm there.
In the fan club.
Yeah,
Right.
with the gals from last year. Some of us are going to be together, and executive club's bringing a group too.
Oh, that's true. Another powerhouse group of women in our community. It's nonstop around here. There's just amazing women everywhere.
No shortage of amazing women in this town. I know everybody says that about their town, but our town is special.
Only our no, all towns.
Yeah, it's true.
All women everywhere.
Yeah.
What is your favorite part of the work you get to do?
Oh my gosh, just meeting people and hearing their stories. We shared Kelly Harvey last year at the show and her story and just things like that. It's like just on, you say there's always something to be positive for, and then you hear some of these other stories, and I think, oh my gosh, like people think I have a story. My story is nothing compared to what she went through, or what she went through, or this person has overcome so much or accomplished so much. It's just really, really empowering to see the stories and hear the things that people have done, and also to be able to be just a little sliver of helping them or doing something that makes their life better. One thing I love about Parkland is it's oftentimes a $500 scholarship that is the deciding factor of if a student can attend. And so it's really high impact fundraising that's really making a difference that then trickles into our community and makes our community a better place. I challenge you to go to the dentist and not have a Parkland dental hygienist working on your teeth. Same with nurses. I mean, they're everywhere. So it's just being that little bit of help.
Really strong programs in those fields. Absolutely. What did you take at Parkland? I didn't know you took classes
So
there.
I was sort of the reverse stereotype. I was an elementary ed major. I came here. I fell in love with Montessori, and part of the Montessori program is early childhood. So I had to go back and get early childhood classes, which is sort of the reverse of what people typically do. But I often say I learned so much from those 2 years. And at our training every year, I quote Nancy Gomer, one of my favorite professors there. She talked about no matter what you learn in my class, none of it will matter if you don't love your students. And I share that and that's something here 30 years later that, after taking that class with her, that it still has an impact. I still share that with new teachers and veteran teachers. But it had such a special place for me, and now I have young teachers that go to Parkland, and just seeing the impact it has on our community, I love Parkland.
I know I've heard you say that quote before. Absolutely. And the president of Parkland College is a powerhouse woman, which we love, we celebrate. But you're not wrong. How many movers and shakers in this town have had some sort of connection to Parkland? It's inspiring and very cool. So what's next for you, Lesa?
Oh gosh, I've really this past year tried to slow down. That's been my, I guess, theme. I say no to so many things, which is it's a totally different approach, but I just had too much on my plate. I was too busy. I was running kids everywhere. We were playing travel ball. We are not a travel ball family.
It takes a special
special person. Hats off to all of them. And so I've talked to some moms of older kids, and they said that both their spouses and their children agree that they wish that they would have just slowed down and done more family stuff and just really just gone on more trips or just stayed home and been bored. And so back to my spreadsheets and the calendar and the organization, nothing makes me happier than to have a day of nothing. And so that's been great for my kids, for my family, for Lance, for all of us. And so you will find us this summer doing not a whole lot. Look for us at the pool. Work is great and I love what I'm doing, but I'm not trying to, fund a new building or, do anything crazy like that, because it's just, we're in a phase where we need to just slow down. And it's been, I can't even begin to tell you how refreshing that feels to just have that time with my kids. And I think I have a different perspective sometimes too, because I had a moment where I wasn't sure if I was going to have kids. And so to have kids and to have a very happy, wonderful life, I need to just slow down and enjoy that. And that's what I've been doing, and that's what I'm going to keep doing.
I know. I see the
I'm
smile.
I'm with her.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not good at the slow down, but it sounds good. It sounds like what I should strive to do.
A day with nothing on the calendar. What
That
is,
does
what is
sound
that
heavenly.
like? I can't even.
Yeah, we haven't had
fathom.
many, but we love board games, so we've been playing board games. And it's just focusing on experiences. I thought that my kids wanted all these experiences like the travel ball and the activities. And yeah, I think it's good and healthy to be in some of that stuff, but Little League's just fine.
Well, I remember early on some of the best advice I ever got that I still use is don't spend your money on stuff, spend it on experiences. Yes. And it really is, whatever that looks like for you, if it's travel ball or if it's not, whatever it is, like that's where the bacon is.
Yeah, we're going on a cruise here in 27 days, not that we're counting. And that was my kids' Christmas, and going to be their early spring break because we are going to skip school to go on this cruise, and it's going to be fabulous. But it's just, that's what we want to do is just spend time together. And, yeah, we're going on this cruise, but we also have just as much fun staying home, going to Shoal Pool or whatever, obviously we're summer people. So yeah, just really focusing on quality family time.
And it shifts and morphs. Like you'll be in a phase and you'll think, this is the phase I'm going to live in the rest of my life, that you're going to be there. And then I remember going to Shoal Pool, chasing my 4 little kids around and I remember seeing moms like reading a book. And I just was like, I just wanted to knock it out of their hands. And no, I didn't. I was so happy for them that that's the stage they were in. But I remember thinking like that day will never come. And then when the day came and I was reading a book and I would see other moms I would think, gosh, it really is. Everybody says it, but it's true. It all is so fleeting.
Yes. And I know my kids are 8 and 10, so we're going to be in junior high before too long. We're going to be in high school, and priorities might change. They might decide, hey, I want to dive headfirst in whatever new activity it is, and I'll be there to support them in doing whatever they want. But right now, they're telling me in an indirect way, we need to slow down and we need to just focus on our family, and I'm doing my best to listen.
Do you know what I'm hearing right now? Like this is the new Lesa Brandt. And that's what we heard about in your story, the journey to get here. Because before, you definitely took life a little seriously and had strict rules and guidelines, and now you are stopping to smell the flowers or taking time to just be. And I'm so happy to hear that, because that is important for other women to hear who are going through a hard time, that there is a beautiful light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely.
And so, Lesa, thank you for bringing your story to the stage. Thank you for bringing your beautiful self here to the studio so we can spend some time seeing where you are today and letting our listeners learn even more from you, because I want to be like Lesa, don't you?
No, be like Lesa.
Be like Lesa, hashtag.
Get lots of sweatpants.
Shirts, sweatpants. Be like Lesa, and support your community college wherever you may be. But we want to thank our friends for joining us, our friends at WCAA who help us produce our podcast, and everyone who said yes to making it possible for us to be here at the She Said Project podcast. See you next time. Thank you for listening to the She Said Project podcast. All materials contained in the podcast are the exclusive property of the She Said Project, and That's What She Said, LLC. For more information on our live shows, go to shesaidproject.com.